Let's be real for a second. Nothing unsettles a woman more than realizing she's no longer the center of your attention, and that realization doesn't just create a small ripple in her emotions. It can shake her confidence in ways she may not even admit to herself or others. Sounds harsh, maybe to some ears, but it's the truth. A lot of guys overlook, especially those who have been raised to believe, that the only way to keep a woman interested is to constantly chase her, constantly validate her, constantly make her feel like she's the prize and you're just lucky to be in the same room. We've been fed this idea that men should always be chasing, always proving, always pouring their energy into keeping a woman engaged and emotionally hooked. But what happens when you flip the script? What happens when you take that energy back, when you decide to reclaim your focus and give it to yourself instead of offering it like a never-ending stream to someone who may not even appreciate it? That's where the dynamic changes. That's when the power balance starts to shift. And most importantly, that's when she feels the gap where your attention used to be, and that absence speaks louder than any confrontation you could ever initiate. That's when things get interesting, and that's when you begin to see who she really is beneath this surface persona, and honestly, that's when you start to see her real side, the part she usually keeps tucked away because it doesn't fit the narrative of being in control or being chased. Welcome to the channel, man. I'm glad you're here because today we're going to break down something most guys don't even think about, but absolutely should, because it affects your relationships, your emotional balance, and even how you see your own value as a man. We're talking about how a woman reacts when she realizes she's lost your attention, and know this isn't about playing games or being manipulative. This is about understanding emotional dynamics that are playing out in the background, whether you're tuned into them or not, because they exist regardless of your awareness, and they influence how she sees you, how she behaves around you, and how she values the bond or connection you once had. See, attention is more than just a casual glance or a double tap on a photo. Where you put your focus says everything about what matters to you. And for a woman, your attention isn't just about validation. It's a signal of value, security, and emotional status. It's a psychological marker that tells her where she stands in your world, and when that signal gets weaker or completely disappears, it doesn't just confuse her, it creates a subtle emotional disruption that often leads to confusion, frustration, and in many cases, even a little panic. And the way she reacts when that disruption sets in tells you more about her mindset, her inner confidence, her true intentions, and the depth of the connection between you than any sweet words or romantic gestures ever could. So in this video, we're going to walk through 7 common ways women respond when they feel that loss of attention, and I guarantee some of these will surprise you because they're not always obvious, and others might confirm behaviors you've seen before but couldn't quite put your finger on. Either way, by the end of this, you're going to have a clearer view of what's really going on beneath the surface, and more importantly, how to handle it like a man who knows his worth, a man who's not reactive but observant, a man who doesn't chase validation but understands value and moves accordingly. Let's get into it. She suddenly wants to talk more. 1. She suddenly wants to talk more, and not just casually either. This shift is one of the first things you'll notice when a woman realizes she's lost your attention. She suddenly wants to talk a lot more, and I'm not just talking about regular conversations or lighthearted exchanges that naturally builds connection. I'm talking about those unexpected, out-of-the-blue texts or phone calls where she seems almost too interested in what's going on with you, what you're feeling, what you're doing, and why you've gone silent. It starts with something small, maybe a simple, "Hey, how's your day?" But behind that message is a deeper question she's trying to answer for herself. Did I lose my hold on him at first? This kind of outreach might feel innocent or sweet, but think about the timing. That's where the real meaning lives. For weeks or even months, she's grown used to having your attention, available like a warm blanket. She knew you'd check in, plan things, be emotionally present and reliable. Then something shifted. You started pulling back, maybe not even on purpose. Maybe you just got busy or decided to redirect your energy toward your own goals, your peace, your passions. And suddenly that consistent supply of male energy and interest that she had come to expect is missing. Next thing you know, your phone lights up with messages at random times. Things like, hey, just thinking about you, or more emotionally probing questions. Like, are we okay, or what's going on with you lately? It's not always because she suddenly realized you're amazing, though you probably are. It's because she feels the change and she's unsure what it means. Feels that emotional vacuum where your attention used to be, and she wants to fill it again before. The silence grows too wide. Here's what's really happening in that moment. The sudden desire to talk isn't just a random impulse, it's a move driven by emotional self-preservation. She's seeking reassurance. She's trying to figure out if she still holds emotional influence over you, if she's still the center of your focus, and if the emotional bond she depended on is still intact. This need for reassurance isn't always rooted in affection. Sometimes it's ego, sometimes it's fear of losing power, and sometimes it's a genuine concern because she feels vulnerable for the first time in a while. Whatever the motive, the important thing for you is to stay grounded and not fall back into old habits where you rush to give her all the answers she's fishing for. Let her come to you. Let her feel that shift. Let her work to reconnect instead of expecting you to fill in the emotional gaps like you always did, because that's when you find out who's really there for you and who is just enjoying the spotlight of your attention. She tries to make you jealous. 2. She tries to make you jealous, and trust me, this one is as old as time itself. It's a classic emotional maneuver that often kicks in when a woman feels like your interest is slipping away, and it's not always done with full awareness on her part. Sometimes she doesn't even realize she's doing it, but her subconscious knows exactly what it's aiming for. She wants a reaction, and more specifically, she wants a reaction that shows her she still has an emotional grip on you. You'll see it through subtle shifts in behavior maybe. She casually brings up a guy who complimented her, or suddenly starts tagging random guys in social media posts. Maybe she's posting pictures that are more revealing than usual, or out at events where she's surrounded by male attention and making sure it's all public so that it finds its way back to you either directly or indirectly. It's not an accident. It's a signal. She's broadcasting a message that says, look, I'm still desirable. Other men want me. Are you paying attention yet? Because in her mind, if you see that she's getting attention elsewhere, it might stir something in you, make you question what you're missing, and potentially pull you back in emotionally. And why does this tactic work for some guys? Because if your attention once made her feel special, then losing it creates a void. And if she can't get that attention, the usual way she'll try to provoke it, even through discomfort, jealousy, or confusion. If you bite, if you react, if you respond emotionally, then in her mind, she still has leverage. But here's where your strength gets tested. The more you respond, the more control you hand back over to her, and that's exactly the game you need to avoid. Instead, see the pattern, recognize it for what it is, not as a threat, but as confirmation that your presence mattered and still matters. The truth is, she's not trying to show you how happy she is without you. She's trying to test if you're still watching, still emotionally invested, still willing to chase. And while that might sound flattering on the surface, it's really just a power play born out of uncertainty and ego. Don't fall for the trap. Stay calm, stay focused on yourself. Let her realize that the same tricks don't work anymore. Let her feel the silence. Let her deal with the consequences of losing a man who's not emotionally reactive but emotionally grounded. That's where your true power lies. Her ego goes into overdrive. 3. Her ego goes into overdrive, and this one can sneak up on you because it's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, calculated, and disguised as confidence. But if you're paying attention, you'll notice the signs right away. Your attention, whether you meant it or not, was feeding her ego. It made her feel seen, desired, and important. And when that steady stream of validation dries up, it doesn't just inconvenience her, it wounds her pride and her sense of control. And that's when the ego starts working overtime, trying to rebuild that lost sense of power. She may start saying things like, I have tons of options, or I don't need drama in my life, which on the surface might sound like empowerment, but underneath, it's ego trying to reestablish emotional dominance. She might post more, show off more, appear overly busy, or suddenly become the life of the party, all with the underlying hope that you're watching and that you'll feel something when you do this. Performative happiness isn't about fulfillment, it's about optics. She